Accidents not only occur on land but also at sea. Some of them involve ships with high-value cargo ranging from luxury vehicles to heavy equipment. Because they occur at sea, rescue efforts face their own challenges. Besides having to deal with damage to the ship, the rescue team must also consider weather conditions, the sea, and the potential environmental impacts. Here are the 4 most expensive ship rescue processes in history. The Tricor ship was a Ro-Ro ship carrying 3,000 cars from Belgium to England in December 2002. This ship had an accident in the French Sea after colliding with a cargo ship, which caused the Tricor ship to sink along with its cargo. Fortunately, there were no fatalities in this incident because the entire crew was successfully rescued before the ship sank. 6 months after the accident, the rescue operation began. The first stage involved divers who were assigned to check the condition of the ship, especially the oil tank. It was found that the oil tank was leaking, so the rescue team tried to prevent environmental pollution by removing oil from the tank. The divers made a hole in the ship's tank, located on the seabed, and pumped oil to a ship on the surface. This pumping process took almost 2 months to complete. To cut the ship, the team had to build 2 platforms on both sides of the ship as a foundation for a wire cutter. Wire cutting was then used to cut the ship from the bottom up. After the cutting was completed, the ship was lifted to the surface in stages. Because the overall weight of the ship was more than 2,000 tons, it was impossible to lift it all at once. Therefore, the ship had to be cut into parts. The divers tied the parts together using large steel wires before lifting them to the surface. This lifting process was very challenging, especially because, even though it had been cut, the weight of each part remained significant. Meanwhile, of the 3,000 cars transported by the Tricor ship, only a few units remained. Most of them had been carried away by the current and are now only left as wrecks. In September 2012, the Baltic Ace ship was involved in a collision with a cargo ship in the sea near the Netherlands. As a result of the accident, the ship's hull suffered a major leak, which caused the ship to sink very quickly. Of the 24 crew members, only 13 survived. At that time, the Baltic Ace was transporting around 1,400 Mitsubishi cars from Belgium to Finland. The ship sank to a depth of 35 meters, and the operation to lift the wreck began in March 2014, more than a year after the incident. The lifting process had to be done quickly to be completed before winter arrived. The first step in this operation was similar to that carried out in previous ship accidents, emptying the ship's tanks by pumping out water to reduce the risk of pollution. Afterward, the ship was cut into parts using wire cutters. The parts were then lifted using a crane, along with the cars that had sunk to the bottom of the sea. Unfortunately, the luxury cars had been damaged and turned into scrap due to being submerged for a long time. In 2019, the Golden Ray ship capsized, and most of its body sank near Brunswick Port, Georgia, United States. This ship was a car carrier with a length of 200 meters and a width of 35 meters. When it capsized, it was carrying around 4,100 luxury cars, including Mercedes and several SUVs, that were being sent to Saudi Arabia. This accident resulted in losses of more than $200 million or around 3.1 trillion Indonesian rupiahs. It is suspected that the cause of the ship capsizing was overloading. The rescue operation for the Golden Ray ship was carried out in 2020, requiring around 30,000 collective man-hours to lift the ship to land. Before being lifted, the ship had to be cut into parts. The pieces were then lifted using a crane and transported by barge to land. Unfortunately, all the luxury cars carried by the Golden Ray ship could not be saved, they all became wreckage. The lifting process also faced various obstacles, including difficult weather conditions and the pandemic. In January 2016, the modern express ship, carrying earth-moving equipment, trucks, and logs, was sailing in waters near France. Along the way, the ship was hit by strong winds that caused it to lose its balance. As a result, the ship experienced severe tilting and almost sank. Rescue teams were immediately deployed to evacuate 22 crew members using a helicopter. Meanwhile, the ship continued to drift in a tilted position position and almost capsized. After 1 week, the rescue team made evacuation efforts. In this complex operation, they managed to install a towing rope on the Modern Express. Even though the size of the tugboat used was much smaller, its strength and toughness made it possible to pull the ship to the port safely. Finally, the ship was successfully moored at the port for further repairs. Well, those are the 4 most expensive ship rescue processes in history. Hopefully, this information is useful. See you in our next interesting video.